There we go. Alrighty. We are going to be going over part 1 and part 2 of the week 8 scenarios. Oh, pardon me. It was a long day at work. So for part 1, we were asked to do the following. Check database integrity, rebuild index, recognize index and update statuses, backup database to a full extent, cleanup history, which was optional, and schedule these tasks. So I did some of these a little bit out of order, kind of working on the bigger ones. First things first is we created a job. Jobs are super fun. I've actually come to really like them. I think they come in lots of handy. For those of you that don't know what jobs are, pretty much the computer here, well, not necessarily the computer, but the software on it, will do something for you, such as update, maybe backup files, pretty much when you need it to, and it'll do that consistently. So, first things first, this job right here, and I've put lots and lots of notes so that way I can be able to conduct myself a little bit more professionally and tell you in more detail. And even if I can't tell you, then you might be able to see a note just in case you have a question about it. So I am using the recipes example right here. And let's go over it. This first job should back up the recipes database. And one way to test this without running the job again, because running the job again will get you an error, because obviously it's already running. By using this little test run, we can see that it was started successfully and that it is doing its thing. You may not be able to see it because of the way I have things set up, but I can also go into my files and see that it's being backed up there as well. Next, there's the integrity check. If I run that again, will I get an error? Oh, no, wonderful. So unlike jobs, if you run it again, you won't get an error. How interesting. There's where we rebuild the index. That's where we do the update stats and the reorganize index. And inside of here, I've where did I put that note? I did do some history cleanup. Maybe I put that inside of another file. I will have to go back and do that. I have to go back and check. There's the test run. This week I was going through a lot of files, fixing and testing things before I did them for real on these school databases. Because if there's one thing you don't want to mess up, it's the school databases. So next we have part 2. And with part 2, I will have to say I did struggle a little bit with this, and the concepts I still don't entirely get. I did read through the material that we had, and I don't know, something is just not clicking up here for me, I must admit. But I think from what I do know, I'm pretty sure that I've got everything running properly. So yes, this little error message that you see is because I ran something twice that doesn't need to be run twice. Much like a job, if you run it again, you get an error because it's already running. So for number 2, let me just scooch the things will cooperate. I'm going to scooch something over so I can see. So for part 2, we were asked to Yes, so to create a concept that we're implementing, such as a partition function, explain it a little bit. Step of the job. So I've gone through and we were asked to implement something, show the steps, and the result of each one. So obviously for one of these, we're not going to be running it again because it doesn't allow like duplicates. But if not exist, I ran these earlier, so we are going to see if they get an error if I run them again. This should be, yep, it already exists. Cool. Nice. So yes, I already got all of these guys to work. It's a shame I didn't do it on camera because now I'm going to get a bunch of errors saying, hey, you already ran this. Why are you trying to run it again? So I'll just walk you through the steps. One thing I like about SQL is it sort of tells what it's doing. Like, how do I explain? With Python, you kind of have to look everywhere to figure out what a line of code is doing. But with SQL, it tells you it makes English sentences in a way. And to me, that makes a lot more sense than, let's say, like with Python, where you have like all these different references and logic. I say that like logic is a bad thing. But I like the way that SQL is set up where it has sentences in a way, which means that even if I don't like tell you what's going on, if you just read, like you'll know what's going on, which is something I really enjoy out of code. It's easy for somebody like me who does not run on logic like Python does. Anyways, let's go through the steps. So if not exist, select name from sysfile groups where, and we're using the recipes examples again. We are going to add this file group. Okay, no, never mind. I will admit I got some of this code. I didn't write it all myself. I did, because I didn't quite get the concepts that, like, I didn't quite get what they wanted me to do. So I went online and kind of looked for assistance pretty much. And I found some of this code. Of course, I've reimagined it to what I need, such as using recipes example. So we added this file group, and then step 2, we added the partition function. Thank you, Past Me, for adding in some notes. And by the way, while researching some of this code to see how I could do what part 2 was asking me to do, I found this if not exists to be really helpful. Because then let's say I run something again and it's all like, oh no, it already exists. Then the if not exists will pretty much stop it if it does exist. At least that's my understanding of it while researching. We haven't gone through this in class yet, but I really like it just because it seems pretty handy from how I understand it. Here's where we create the partition. I called it my partition function. Next is where we created the scheme to the partition. And then, of course, we altered that scheme and function, again, using the if not exists. I think now that I know what it is, I might end up using it a lot, kind of like I did here, because it really does come in handy. And of course, I used a little bit of testing. This really isn't for anything much. If we execute it, it'll just give me the primary. for the group file name. But really, when it comes down to it, I I know it took me quite a few days, but at the end of the day, this stuff, I really liked learning about it. I mean, my head is really shiny there. I really liked learning about all this stuff. And I'm gonna close that. And I hope to use what I've learned throughout the upcoming weeks because I can really see the value in a lot of this. I would love to hear what you think about it.